What's up, Raider Nation? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here, letting you know what's coming up here on the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition. I will be talking about the quarterback battle so far through the training camp. I'll be talking about some of the rookies and where they may play important roles, and I'll talk a little bit about the quarterbacks. What are we looking at, and do we have enough depth there? So I'll be talking about that and much, much more. We'll be back in 44 seconds, give or take. Good morning, Silver and Black Nation, and welcome to the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition. All right, I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. It's been a while. It's been a little while since I've been on talking Raider football. I probably haven't been on since June, to be honest with you. It's been too long. I wanted to have been on sooner, but just has not been working out. So here I am now. You got me now. I'm here now to talk a little bit of Raider football. I mean, football, it starts tonight. We got the Hall of Fame game tonight with the Bears and Texans, I believe it is. Kicking off tonight, I think 8 p.m. or whatever. I don't know if you're a preseason junkie or not, if you're that much into football that you watch the preseason games. I do like watching a little bit of my team, their preseason games. The other teams I really don't care a whole lot about. Sometimes there's a certain player that piques your interest. You have to watch other teams, but there's probably a good chance I won't watch a whole lot of tonight's game. I might watch probably the first quarter, just to kind of get your football fix, at least my football fix, and go from there. Got a comment rolling up here. We got our boy Paul Spencer checking. What's up, Paul? Devontae Adams happy? I don't know. Paul, and it's something I was going to talk about here. I'll kick it off with that, actually. Devontae Adams, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what's going on. Ever since basically it's what it feels like anyway. Basically, ever since the Raiders picked him up, it's always been one of the Raiders going to trade Devontae. The Raiders should trade Devontae. The Raiders should, the Jets want Devontae Adams. That's all. It's all I ever see on social media or my Google feed, for whatever reason, keeps throwing that shit in my face. Devontae's going to get traded. The Raiders need to trade Devontae. They have to trade Devontae. Devontae's not happy. But then when you see Devontae talk, it's the opposite. Now, is he just saying what he has to say? As a professional, I don't know. I'm not really sure 100%. So last season, you rewind to last season. I know they have this whole receivers show on. I guess it's HBO. I think it is HBO or whatever. It's on my Max app. I haven't watched any of it, but I've seen clips of it. Devontae on there, and he was not happy with Jimmy G last year. He wanted Aiden O'Connell in there. He got Aiden O'Connell in, and he appeared to be much happier. And so, I mean, I don't know. That this is the guy that he wanted in. He wants a competent quarterback. Is that Aiden O'Connell? Is that Gardner Minshew? I'm not really sure. There's been reports that I've read online, true or not, I'm not really sure. I'm not at training camp. That there's been some pretty bad throws to Devontae, leave him out to dry, where it could be where he gets absolutely destroyed, and that could shorten a season or even a career for some of these guys. So if that's what's happening, you can't really blame Devontae for being a little bit unhappy or hesitant about going into the season. But, on the other hand, when they had the interview with Devontae, it's nothing but peaches and cream. All the right stuff being said. So it's hard to get a good read on it. It's hard to get what's just stuff being put out there by media or whatever, just for something to talk about. There's not a whole lot to talk about. Well, let's just bring this up. Devontae wants to play with Aaron Rodgers again. The Jets want Devontae. Devontae wants to go back to Green Bay. Devontae hates the quarterback situation. Devontae's afraid he's going to get hurt. This, that, the other. Is it because there's not a whole lot to talk about? I don't know. I think Devontae isn't as unhappy as what he's being portrayed as, but I also don't think he's as happy as he's portraying, if that makes any sense. And I think we won't know until the season starts. If the season starts, they go out there, the Raiders, post a win, offensively have an okay game. They don't have to be world beaters as long as that defense shows up. That showed up last season. But if they go out there and they post an efficient game, put up 20 plus points, and Devontae Adams gets 8-9 catches, which is what your big time receiver should be getting anyway. They should be getting targeted 15 in my opinion 15 times easily, and he should be getting some completions there, 8 to 10 completions. And if he's pushing 100 yards, I think he's going to be happy as long as he's not out there getting killed. And a couple of the clips that I've seen from that receiver show, and it's something that really boggles my mind why the Raiders pushed out Derek Carr and brought in Jimmy G. Where you look at the deep ball, Jimmy G couldn't hit the deep ball to save his life, where Derek Carr was much better with the deep ball. And he's seen a couple times Devontae wide open running downfield, and either Jimmy G throws it 15 yards beyond him, or he throws it 15 yards out of bounds. It's you can tell the frustration just building up in Devontae. So if you have Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew out here and they're not hitting Devontae when he's open, we could see a world where Devontae is traded early in the season, first couple of weeks of the season, to appease him. That's the one thing about the Raiders organization. Mark Davis, he's said publicly that, he wants to do what's best for Devontae. He likes Devontae. He says he loves Devontae, but I'm not going to get into that. But, he respects the hell out of Devontae Adams. And if Devontae Adams does not want to be a Raider, he will, find the best situation for Devontae Adams. So basically that tells me right there that it's in Devontae's lap. If Devontae said, I don't want to be here anymore, Mark, we need a change, we need to do something, Mark will find something, and, Mark will acquiesce. He will trade him away. So, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that. So, about Devontae going to Mark Adams about it, or Mark Davis about Devontae Adams, whatever. You know what I'm saying. So we'll have to wait and see. I think if the season starts off good, that'll kind of quell those rumors. But if it starts off bad, which it's a possibility, with a second-year quarterback coming in, and Gardner Minshew, who's had some. He had a decent season last year, Gardner Minshew, statistically, and he also kept the Colts in the playoff run all the way to the end there. Are these guys top flight quarterbacks? No, they're not. They're absolutely not. There's the potential that both these guys are just really good backups. And if you have two really good backup quarterbacks fighting for your top spot, then you don't have a top quarterback. But it remains to be seen yet, because neither guy's really gotten a full chance. I guess you can't really say that about Gardner Minshew, really, to be honest with you, because basically he did almost get a full season last year. I'm not sure what week it was that Richardson went down. I feel like it was week 2 or 3. I could be wrong with that. But that's basically a full season, where Aiden O'Connell got half a season. Now he gets a full off season with a new offense. Who gets his offense? So we'll see what happens. So there's the potential that Aiden O'Connell is better than we think, and is a legitimate starting quarterback. He's not going to be one of your your top tier quarterbacks probably, but there is the potential that he is a legitimate starting quarterback that can run an offense competently and get the job done. We'll have to wait and see. I got another comment here. Paul saying, I watched the series receivers and he said, get me that out here. Yeah. And again, that's going back last season. And you can't blame him. Again, the rumors were swirling like crazy last season about Devontae not being happy. And, there was a lot of times where Jimmy G put him out there and, he was getting killed. But he wanted Aiden O'Connell in there. He pushed for Aiden O'Connell, and Aiden O'Connell eventually did get in there. And for the most part, I haven't watched receivers. I don't know if they still followed him during the Aiden O'Connell second half of the season there or not. But for the most part, it seemed like a lot of those rumors quelled after Aiden O'Connell took over, Antonio Pierce took over, and they kind of went a different direction. It seems like everything kind of simmered down. Devontae was not getting the ball anymore, any less. He was not getting, for the most part, I don't think he was getting too many passes thrown to him that were much better than what Jimmy G was getting to him. But for some reason, he felt more comfortable with Aiden O'Connell behind center. And, as the season went on, Aiden O'Connell played much, much better. So maybe Jimmy G seen that, or not Jimmy. Maybe Devontae seen that in Aiden O'Connell and figured, let's give this kid a chance. We need to get him in there. If we're going to lose like this, let's lose and see what the kid got and go from there. And that also gives Devontae a little bit more leverage. If, they go out there last season, they put Aiden O'Connell in and he stinks. Now you have, no clear-cut future at quarterback. Unless you lose all those games at the end of the season and you end up getting the top 2 pick. And, I don't know if Devontae would want to play with another rookie quarterback if he just went out of there after that, after they lose all those games at the end of the season, if that's what happened. So maybe that was his way of saying, if we continue to shit the bed, this is my way out. But if Aiden O'Connell looks as good as I think he might, this is my spot. This is how I stay here. So I don't know. I don't know. I do know he was not too happy with Jimmy G. And he said as much, get me the F out of here. What are we doing? All that stuff that he's been saying, that he was saying on that show during last season. And, he said that, he's I like Jimmy G. I love Jimmy G, as a person and stuff like that. But last season, not so much. So it is what it is. Nobody liked Jimmy G last year. Jimmy G probably didn't like Jimmy G last year. So it is what it is. The ladies at the Bunny Ranch did. Jimmy G, not so much. So that brings us to the quarterback. Sticking with the quarterbacks, quarterback competition this year between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew. Coming into preseason camp here, training camp, Antonio Pierce has said that right now it's Aiden O'Connell's team. It's a full-fledged quarterback competition. So that's what they're doing. But Aiden O'Connell is your leader in the clubhouse pretty much by default, basically. Pretty much by default because he's already a Raider. He was already there. He's there last season, drafted by the Raiders. Started that second half of the season, played well the second half of the season, and kind of earned that right to go into the clubhouse as your leader in that quarterback competition. So where it sits right now, I've seen a lot of positives. I've read a lot of positives on both. I've read a ton of negatives on both quarterbacks coming into going through the first week and a half of camp. So I don't know where it sits, if anything has changed, if anybody has a clear separation between the other. I don't know. I haven't heard anything from any other of the beat writers that I listen to on different podcasts, or read through social media or online articles. I haven't read anything where it said Aiden O'Connell is far and away the better of the two, or vice versa, Gardner Minshew is far and away the better of the two. I haven't seen that. Like I said, I've seen some where these guys have, hit some big passes. I've seen somewhere it says these guys have thrown some huge interceptions, in practice against their defense. And the other thing you have to remember as well is, they're not really facing slouches out there. This was a top 10 defense last year and is expected to be even better this year. So they're not getting a gimme defense, where some quarterbacks, wearing the silver and black in the past may have, where the Raiders defense has not been all that good. The defense being better, the offense is being put through the ringer. I did see something. I don't know where I seen it. What site or what Twitter content creator, I don't know whatever you want to call him, who put it out there, but it was a play-by-play sequence basically through offense. I don't know. I think both quarterbacks were in and out. It was the offense versus the defense, obviously 11 on 11. It wasn't padded, but it was a lot of minuses, but also a lot of pluses. I seen quite a few tackle for losses, quite a few. There was a strip sack. I think that was a strip sack of. I want to say strip sack of Aiden O'Connell, but I could be wrong about that. It doesn't really matter who it was. I seen there's, I think each quarterback threw an interception, but also each quarterback hit also some big plays downfield as well. I think one of them hit Devontae Adams downfield for 20 plus yards. One of them hit I want to say Michael Mayer for a 10 plus yard gain. One of them hit Brock Bowers for a 15-yard plus gain. He also had Zamir White running the rock a little bit. So for the most part, the defense, shut the offense down, but there was some moments where the offense did move the ball in big chunks against the defense. So some bright spots, a lot of dark spots, but the good thing about having a really good defense is your offense is facing that defense, and it may not look good to the naked eye watching, but that defense is making that offense better by being stubborn and putting them through the ringer and pushing them as hard as they can. So it's a bad thing if you're watching it, but I think internally, I think deep down, I think in the long run, it's a good thing when your offense isn't doing well against your top 10 defense. Now, if you have a bottom tier defense and your offense isn't doing well, and then you're in a lot of trouble. But I think with the top 10 defense, it's supposed to dominate the offense. And usually coming into training camps, your defenses are usually a step or two ahead of the offenses and whatnot anyway. But I'm not too surprised that the defense is dominating the offense right now. The defense is just far and away much better. There's also some injuries on the offense as well. You have Colton Miller. He's on the PUP list right now. JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, the Raiders' second-round draft pick this past season. He's also on the PUP list, physically unable to perform list. So I got a couple guys missing there, but that's also a good thing. You get to see Thayer Mumford's going to get a lot more snaps. He doesn't have to share snaps with DJ Glaze. DJ Glaze, he's going to get more snaps as well. Andrews Pete, an offseason acquisition for the Raiders. He can be that veteran that kind of takes those young guys, Thayer Mumford and DJ Glaze, under his wing and kind of helps them along through training camp. And as we go and get into these preseason games, we can kind of see what those guys have. Can Thayer Mumford hold up? Can he win that job over at right tackle, or is it going to be a tackle by committee there? You're going to see a rotational spot where you see a couple series. You see Thayer Mumford, then you see a couple with DJ Glaze. You see Andrews Pete in there. As long as Colton Miller's healthy on the left side, there's no need to rotate anybody over there unless he's hurt. So we'll see what happens there. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I don't think it is. From everything I heard, it's basically just Colton Miller still recovering from his injuries last season, and just maintenance type stuff. And for Jackson Powers Johnson, I think it was an injury that he had last season coming into this season that he's still recovering from. And from everything that I've heard from press conferences from coaches, they're not overly worried about Jackson Powers Johnson. They said mentally, he'll be fine. there's no reason to really worry about that. They said physically he'll have some catching up to do because it is a faster game, it is a more physical game, and whatnot. So he'll have some catching up to do. They said they have no reason to believe that he can't do it and do it quickly. So I do expect Colton Miller to be your week one starter at left tackle. Jackson Powers Johnson, I'm hoping that he's starter in week one. That means everything's going well with him. If he's not, I would expect not too long after week one that he'd be inserted as your number one starting guard on the first team offensive line. So Paul says same as Cowboys fans all over. Trey Lance throwing picks everywhere in camp, but Dallas is top 5 with their ones defense. People don't see that. Stat only makes the field better than iron sharpens iron. Yes, correct. So that's kind of what I was getting at. But it could really, if you have a shit defense and they're out there dominating your offense, you could be in it for a really, really long season. The old saying goes that the defense is always a step or two ahead of the offense going into training camp. But if it's a bad defense, that's your offense is going to be in a lot of trouble. But again, just like the Cowboys, the Raiders defense is expected to be very, very good. And it's not surprising that they're dominating the way they are. And with that, and again, talking about Raiders defense, with that being said, cornerback is a spot where it's going to be kind of interesting to see what direction the Raiders are going to go in. Does Jacorian Bennett, second-year guy, does he take a hold of that spot, the third cornerback position? I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Jacorian Bennett, Brandon Faison. We already have it pretty much the other two spots, nailed down by Nate Hobbs and Jack Johnson. I had a brain fart there for a second. So does Jacorian Bennett, from everything that I've heard from training camp guys, again, they're saying it looks like Jacorian Bennett is your leader right now at cornerback. Coming in, as you said, he's coming much stronger. They said he spent a lot of time in the offseason, just studying the game, pretty much just learning the stuff that he failed to pick up on last season. That kind of put him behind, and also getting physically stronger and faster. So we'll see if Jacorian Bennett can take a hold of that that cornerback spot, and we'll be pretty much set at nickel then. We got Joe Sullivan checking in. What's up, Joe? He said how the quarterbacks looked in camp. Joe, it's been a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. So it's kind of like 50-50 from both guys, honestly. And it's something that I was just talking about. And Paul, Paul is a host of the Dem 215 boys on Wednesdays. I was on last night, Wednesday night. He and Cowboy Dave, and they had a special guest on last night. Go ahead and check that out. Dem 215 boys talking Dallas Cowboy football. But when you have an offense that's a quarterback competition like that, and one quarterback is still really green. The other quarterback isn't like a upper echelon type quarterback, but it's kind of a fringe starter. There's going to be moments where they look bad, especially against a top 10 top tier defense. And Paul was saying the same things happen with the Cowboys. You have they're getting all the Cowboy fans are getting all over Trey Lance because he's throwing picks everywhere, but he's also facing a really good defense there in the Cowboys. So same things kind of happen with the Raiders. There's moments where Aiden O'Connell's looking really, really sharp. He's looking good. He's hitting Devontae down for big gains. He's hitting Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer and Jacoby Myers and stuff like that, hitting those big passes and hitting your medium routes. They're throwing some bad picks as well. The same thing with Gardner Minshew. He's hitting some big plays downfield, but he's also throwing a lot of picks. And again, they're facing a top tier defense. It's expected to be a top 10 defense, but expected to be much better than last season. Well, not much better, a little bit better than last season. When you have that, you have an offense going against top tier defense. It's not going to look good all the time, but I feel like it's a big positive for your offense to be going against that top 10 defense. Your quarterbacks, fighting in this competition, going against a top 10 defense. It's just going to make them much better. Like Paul said, iron sharpens iron, and that's how I'm looking at it. That's what I mean. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. That they're facing some really tough competition in training camp, that it's only going to make them better, that when they see defenses that are lesser than the defense that we have, that they're able to handle that and take advantage of it. So yeah, a lot of positives, a lot of negatives. I still believe that Aiden O'Connell will be your week 1 starter, and I feel like he'll get the first couple of weeks. And if it's not going well, no reason to let the season slip away. Hand the reins over to Gardner Minshew and see what he got. But I do think that we come in week 1, all things being equal right now, if things continue where they are, I think Aiden O'Connell is your week 1 starter. So he also says Vegas has the talent to have a top 10 defense, and that's the thing. That's what's going to carry this team through the season. If the Raiders are going to be a playoff team, which I think they can be this year, I do think they compete for a playoff spot. They can compete for a playoff spot, and it's going to be through that defense. That defense is going to carry them. They're going to win low-scoring games, tight games, and just like the end of last season, they won a lot of games. I'd say a lot. 5-4. You call a lot or not. I call it a lot as a Raider fan. Taking those 5 wins out of 9 games, I'll take that. But anyway, a lot of those games were tight, low-scoring games, and that's what it's going to have to be. I mean, that win against Kansas City, what was the final? Like 21. I don't remember. Like 21-13. I don't know what it was. I can't remember exactly. But the offense didn't get a first down after the first quarter. And our touchdowns came via defense. So there's going to be games like that. And I'm not saying that they're Ray Lewis's Baltimore Ravens. No, nowhere near that. That defense was one for the ages. But that team won a lot of games despite their offense, right? A team that went to the Super Bowl, and I don't know what year it was. It was 98 or 99. They go to the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl, and basically they didn't score an offensive touchdown for a few weeks. And the way they were winning was through defense and field goals. And hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but that could be a way the Raiders are going to win. They might have to win 15-12 type games where it's all field goals, or maybe they get a pick six or something like that, and that's the only score of the game. There's probably going to be a couple games like that this year, but I do think, especially with the way it's setting up with the dual tight end, I kind of like what could happen there with your Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer, having them with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. I think that a lot of good things come out of that dual tight end set, that 2 tight end set. For passing wise, that's kind of where I'm going with it. And having that safety valve, being your tight ends, and they can't really focus on shutting down one tight end. You'll have both tight ends that are better than average receivers. So I think that's going to be huge. Excuse me. Sorry. Anyway, I think both tight ends, well above average type receivers, and everything I've heard about Brock Bowers in training camp, everything I've read about him, he's been phenomenal. He's been everything that they've heard about. He's been everything that they've hoped for so far. So that's good news. But that your tight end is always an important safety valve, and to have 2 guys like that, I think it's going to be astronomical. It's going to pay huge dividends for either quarterback that's going to be in there that may be in trouble, or just struggling to get the ball downfield, or just struggling, period, just to find a rhythm. Those tight ends are going to be huge. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just a quarterback to get a little bit of rhythm, hit a couple passes in a row. Whether it's a 5 yard crossing route, or a 5 yard out by a tight end, or something where they settle up in the middle of the field for 10 yards. Hit a couple of those. Hit a running back out of the backfield. Just feeling comfortable, getting into a rhythm. Then all of a sudden you start seeing them hitting the receivers on the outside, or whatever, downfield, or whatever it may be. And that's the tight ends are very important. Raiders offense could be better through the two tight ends. I like the running back White. Also, Zamir White. I'm really excited for him. He's going to be your lead back. We did pick up Alexander Madison as well from the Vikings, and we still have Amir Abdullah as your third running back. But I've also heard a lot of great things about Dylan Laib, who's a running back that we picked up late in the draft this past year. I'm not sure which round it was. I don't know if he was our 7th round or 6th round guy, but I've been hearing a lot of great things about him. Super fast, quick, great hands. So I think at running back we're set up really, really nice. The one thing about Zamir White is, can he last a full season? I think he's built like he can last a full season. So we're going to wait and see, because I feel like he's going to get the rock a lot. And I do think we're going to see Madison a lot as well, Alexander Madison. And Amir Abdullah being your third down back, probably primarily like that. But I do expect Zamir White to get the bulk of your carries. But I do expect Alexander Madison also to get a handful. I wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing Zamir White getting anywhere from 15 to 20 carries a game, and then you're seeing Madison 5 to 10 carries, and of course your third down back probably being Amir Abdullah catching the ball out of the backfield. And I think later in the season we see more Dylan Laib. Zamir White can be a fantasy sleeper. I'm not sure how he is catching out of the backfield. I don't remember the end of last season him catching the ball a whole lot out of the backfield. That's the one thing I'm curious to see how he does. If he's able to catch the ball out of the backfield, I really like him. He has the speed. He has the power. If he has the hands, I do think he had some issues with fumbles last year, though. I do feel like he did put the ball on the ground a couple of times. That's the one thing that might hamper him a little bit. But we'll wait and see what happens there. So, what else we want to talk about here? I've been hearing also some good things about Tyree Wilson. He's been getting a lot of reps on the inside of the defensive line, defensive tackle. We've seen him there last season. He did well. The Raiders moved him inside once. One second. Malcolm Kuntz. I need to sit and think a little bit and get the gears going. Malcolm Kuntz. So as soon as Malcolm Kuntz went ahead and took that step forward and really busted out, and played fantastic last season for the Raiders at defensive end when Tyree Wilson wasn't getting it done. The job went to Kuntz. Ed was phenomenal. So while he was killing on the outside, Tyree Wilson wasn't getting the reps. And so with a guy like that, first round draft pick, you want to get him in there somehow. So they started moving him to the inside. And a little bit undersized for being on the inside, but he did well. His speed, his power, he did very well on the inside. So I do expect to see a lot more of him on the inside than the outside this year, especially like in your long distance type downs. If it's like third and long, second and long, seeing him in there just to get a push up field and stuff like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that works out for Tyree Wilson. I do still expect him to get some reps on the outside. Whether that's given Malcolm Kuntz some a breather or whatever, or even moving him to the outside and dropping Max Crosby back a little bit off the line a little bit, which they did a couple times last season. Not a couple, more than a couple. They'd stand Max Crosby up and move him around on the defensive line. So there is a world where you could see Malcolm Kuntz defensive end, Tyree Wilson defensive end, and all of a sudden you have Max Crosby stand up, drop back, and start kind of, just moving across the defensive line. Where's he going to go? Is he going to, stop over your guard? And, is he going to curl over to the other guard? If he is, stuff like that. Is he going to cross over? Who knows? I really like that aspect of the defense. When they were doing that last season, I don't know how comfortable Max Crosby was doing that, but I know whenever he did do it, that extra yard or two of a push that he would get on the offensive line, it definitely helped. He would get an extra step or two, speed to pick up, and just power, momentum. He'd usually get a pretty nice push there, but it'd normally be on the inside. So it was just bull rush. On the outside, you get a little bit more of that speed and finesse and power that he possesses there. That's where he's really working his magic. But so there is an opportunity where you see Crosby stand up and move around, and you see Tyree Wilson on the outside and Malcolm Kuntz on the other outside, and hear Christian Wilkinson there in the middle. So, and like I said, tonight starts preseason Hall of Fame game. So looking ahead to the Raiders preseason. Their preseason schedule starts August 10th at Minnesota. So that'll be our first opportunity to see some of these guys, especially the rookies, DJ Glaze, Dylan Labe. We're not going to see Jackson Powers Johnson. I'm drawing a blank. I can't think of the linebacker's name. I was really excited for him, but now I can't remember his damn name. Pulling up the depth chart here. Tommy Eichenberg. Man. But anyway, that'll be your first opportunity to probably see a lot of the rookies. You're not going to see many of the veterans. I wouldn't expect to see Max Crosby or anything like that. Guys like that, Christian Wilkinson. I don't know if I'd expect him really in the preseason at all. But I'm not sure what the Raiders are going to do at quarterback during the preseason. You're going to have to play these guys. Does that mean that, Aiden O'Connell gets the first half, Minshew gets the second half? Then the next one is versus Dallas on August 17th. Does that mean that Minshew gets the first half, Aiden O'Connell gets the second half? Then your final game, what do you do there? All right, this is going to be my starting quarterback, so I'm going to sit him so he doesn't get hurt, and then you go straight with the backup. I don't know. Or even a third string quarterback. You go with the third string quarterback. Who is, let me look that up real quick. I'm not even sure who it is. I think it's a unrestricted free agent they picked up. Anthony Brown. And also they have Carter Bradley, who was a undrafted free agent. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they play the quarterback position in the preseason. I wouldn't expect to see Devontae Adams out there much, if at all, either. So basically, that's what it is. You're going to have your Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew play it out there in preseason. That's why I think it's going to happen. I do expect, I would expect see one guy one half and the other guy the other half each of those games, except for maybe the third game. Like I said, maybe that game, you see more of the third string quarterback and, maybe some of the second string, so if Aiden O'Connell wins that job by the third preseason game, you might see Gardner Minshew for the first quarter. And then, the third string, fourth string from there on out, or vice versa. If Gardner wins the job, you might see Aiden O'Connell the first quarter and then your backups thereafter. So I don't know. That's just what I'm thinking. That's what could happen. So they have Dallas on the 17th, and they have San Francisco to wrap it up there on August 23rd before their week 1 battle in Los Angeles against the Chargers, and that's on September 8th. So, and one other bit of news that we had Michael Gallup retire. That happened, I think, 2 weeks ago now. It feels like I think it is about 2 weeks ago. So Gallup retired. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to get out of him anyway. He hasn't been really the same since the few injuries that he had. He had the ACL and stuff like that. So a lot of leg issues, and he never really recovered in Dallas. It was never that that breakout receiver that he was that one season. I think I don't know if he had over 1,000 yards or not, but I know he was really close to it. It was 800, 900 yards, whatever it was. I think he had over 1,000 yards. I think he had over 1,000 yards. I don't think it was his rookie season. I think it might have been his second season, but I could be wrong. So that leaves the door open for Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker. I think he was going to be your number 3 receiver anyway. I didn't think Gallup was going to take that spot from him, but with Gallup out of the way, I think it's clear cut Trey Tucker as your number 3 receiver. I'm expecting a big season out of him. Last year, he had 19 catches for 331 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm expecting more out of him. He's going to stretch the field for us. He's fast. He's shifty. So I expect to see a lot of him. A lot of quick passes, a lot of screen type passes, and see if he could break one, and then also stretching the ball downfield with your deep passes, which we've seen quite a few times last season. So we'll see what happens with Trey Tucker. With Gallup being out, the Raiders signed Keelan Doss. Keelan Doss was on the roster last year. Didn't get a whole lot of playing time. I don't believe. I do remember his name coming up a bit. I think it's more of a fan favorite kind of thing. But the Raiders re-signed him, so he's in camp now, and we'll see if he can make the roster or not. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do our sponsor read here before I kick out and go to bed. We got Jason Fine, J Fine Law. You can reach Jason at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. He specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. In the Garden State of New Jersey, his offices are located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane, and the phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, his offices are located on 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900, and the phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in the city of Brotherly Love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, his offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. All right. So coming up for me, I have the Atomic Drop podcast coming up tomorrow night. Friday night, 10:30 p.m. And then that'll be your SummerSlam preview. And then we will go ahead and do a SummerSlam post show on Sunday. I got to work out what time yet. Usually we do the post show right after the show on Saturdays, but I will be at a concert. I'm not sure what time I will be getting home. So we thought, probably, I want to watch SummerSlam too, so I can actually talk about it. So we thought it'd be better if we just went ahead and did the post show on Sunday. So I'll have the Atomic Drop Friday night, 10:30 p.m., and then Sunday with time to be determined. The Batcave, I'm still trying to get the Batcave on. I missed yesterday. I'm struggling. I'm struggling with sleep here right now, and so no excuses. I got to do better. I got to be on when I say I'm going to be on. I know my millions and millions of fans out there are counting on me so they can hear their Mets talk and their Raiders talk. I still got to get the Kings talk on here. But like I said, I've been struggling. It's been a really big struggle, to be honest with you. I don't know what it is right now, but the last probably 4 or 5 weeks, it's been tough. So no pity party here. Got to do better. All right. So that's all I have for today. Like I said, and I'll be back again next Thursday morning, 10 a.m. Hopefully with Silver and Black Lair Raiders talk. I'm hoping to do the Kings on Monday morning. I might switch that up though once the football season starts. That way you have the Raiders talk right after a Sunday game on a Monday. So that's probably what's going to happen. I'll probably switch it up, and maybe I'll even start it next week. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. So that's all I have for today. Thank you everybody for checking the show out. Thank you for the comments, and I will see you guys next week.